This video is about the Spanish Armada and the Anglo-Spanish War. The Anglo-Spanish War was never formally declared, but lasted from 1585 to 1604. It started with the Treaty of Nonsuch. Spain saw that as casus belli. It was an alliance between England and the Netherlands. In the end, peace was restored with the Treaty of London. Philip II of Spain and Elizabeth I of England were the monarchs, and we have to mention the two English naval heroes, Sir John Hawkins and Sir Francis Drake. The tensions between the maritime superpower Spain and the emerging naval power England were growing. The English trade increased, and England started to have more and more raids against Spanish ships and ports in the colonies. Of course, there were also the tensions on a religious level between the Catholic Spain and the Protestant England. Now, on a political level, both countries were supporting opposing nations and positions in Europe. England supported the Netherlands, Treaty of Nonsuch just mentioned, and they also supported the opposing side opposing Spain in the Portuguese succession crisis. Spain supported the Catholic Irish, especially during the Second Desmond Rebellion, so in the backyard of England, not very good situation for England, and Spain supported the Catholic side in France. Now, as mentioned, the Treaty of Nonsuch casus belli for Spain. But first it was to the English to do something. Drake's great expedition. He raided several ports, especially in the Americas. Then the Catholic Queen, Mary Queen of Scots, was executed in London, and Philip II of Spain was outraged. Now he wanted to invade England, wanted to send the Armada. But he had to wait, because we have Drake, and Drake, very successful, could sink 37 warships in the port of Cadiz. Anyway, next year, a year later, the Armada eventually put out to sea, sailed through the English Channel. There we had a few encounters, nothing major, no major battle happened, but at Gravelines, the English fleet attacked. It was really successful, not in sinking too many Spanish ships, but the Spanish ships were scattered, and then they had to sail back to Spain and took the route around the British Isles. And there the storms came up, and around half of the Armada was lost in these storms. Here we have in England the Protestant wind. God blew with his winds, and they were scattered. Now it's time for the English to go on the offensive, and the so-called English Armada tried to attack La Coruña, Lisbon, and the Spanish Gold Fleet. It was not successful. More success was an English-Dutch campaign against Cadiz, and the Spanish learned. They actually undertook reforms, introduced a convoy system, and could sustain their naval supremacy. Furthermore, they took Brittany, with the exception of Brest, and then Drake and Hawkins died, a major setback for the English. Spanish could take Calais, and then Henry, King of France, ascended to the throne, and with him the religious wars ended and the Spanish engagement in France was over. The Spanish then tried to invade Ireland, help the Irish rebels in the 9 Years' War there, but not successful. British forces could land a decisive victory in the Battle of Kinsale. King James was crowned in 1603, and he wanted to make peace to give his country time to prosper. So eventually, peace at the Treaty of London, the status quo ante bellum, was restored. Now, Spain could sustain her colonies and her supremacy at sea. England stopped her support for the Netherlands. The English Reformation was secured, so Spain did not influence the faith in England anymore. But also the English colonization of North America was delayed. But slowly, the English and also the Dutch merchants could increase their market share on the sea trade because the Spanish merchant fleet, of course, the Spanish merchant navy was weakened during the war. And last but not least, the victory over the Armada, that was the cornerstone or the basis for the English and later British proud naval tradition. That was the Anglo-Spanish War and the Spanish Armada in 5.